Remember those boxes of bones that I picked up and we were all making bone broth forever? Well, I had a friend just give me a box of pears in exchange for those bones. Let's figure out what we're gonna make with them.
First of all, let me tell you, they are the most amazing and sweetest pears I have ever had. I am just like, I am enamored with them. Like, I cut everything off and then the core. Like, they're that good. Okay, but I have set these aside for another recipe. Let me show you what I have made already. I made another batch of the roasted garlic pear preserves. You know, the stuff that is so savory and amazing, and it would be delicious slathered across some toasted bread, French bread, baguette. Oh yeah, so yeah. It came out of the all-new Ball Book of Canning, so if you wanted to make it yourself, it comes out of this. I have quite a bit of them in the freeze dryer right now, and I have a whole bunch more ready to go in the freeze dryer, in the freezer. I pre-freeze everything, so there. Today, I am going to be doing spiced vanilla pear jam because that just sounds divine, and that's out of Diane Devereaux, The Canning Divas, The Beginner Guide to Canning. All of her books are amazing. Some of her books have similar recipes, but all of her books are superb and amazing. Stay tuned for more on what I discovered in her books. I'm not sure if this recipe is available online, but you need to buy her books anyways because they're amazing. So spiced vanilla pear jam is on the list. Pear jam with clear gel just came out of the canner. I did a video on how I did this, so you can watch that one. But we're going to talk about finances and everything I got out of that box of pears as we continue. So it's time to actually start talking about how much we paid for everything and what we did as we clean up the jars. This is what we have to talk about, so let's get through it. First, I have freeze-dried pears. I have 5 packages. This is one entire load plus the ones we ate. And then we have 4 containers of freeze-dried pears. These can go on the shelf. And look, I made sure that they were, wouldn't it be so cute to make a tort or tart out of them and put this rehydrate it and put it on top before you bake it? Oh, I'm just thinking that would be so cool. So, and they're already labeled, so they're gonna go in storage. The next thing we have is canned pears. I have 4 pints of canned pears. Why only 4? Because I was just putting some on the shelf, not a lot. We don't eat a lot of canned fruit. So let's talk about those. You know the drill on everything. We release the seals and we check and make sure they're sealed. And then we clean the jars before we store them. Why? Because sometimes you get sugar water and fruit juices on the outside of the jars, and I clean them up because I'm storing them and I don't want ants. So, okay, let's start going over what everything cost and the savings. Because the freeze-dried pears didn't cost me anything to make, 2 pounds of freeze-dried pears go for $24.99. So I have literally 2 pounds of freeze-dried pears sitting over here, minus the ones I ate. So that's $24.99 worth of savings right there. Canned pears go for $1.79 at the grocery store, ounce per ounce. Now you take that $1.79, you times it, it costs me 50 cents to make these. That means it's 12.6 cents a jar for me to make and can this. And that means it's a $6.66 savings. So there you go. And I have 4 of those. Now let's start going over to the jelly. The next one that we have is the spiced pear jam. And what did that cost me to make? The spiced pear jam cost me 37 cents to make. This one has a lot of sugar in it. But the only pear jam, the cheapest one I could find at the grocery store, was $5.39. When did jam get so expensive? So for $5.39 times 7, because I got 7 jars of this jam, that equals to be $37.73 for total if I was to buy this in the store. But it cost me 37 cents a jar to make, which means it cost me $2.20 to make. And most of that was sugar and the pectin. That means I have a $35.19 savings right here in these 7 jars. I'm going to wash them up and then we're going to talk about the next. Okay, let's stop and do a correction here. It was $2.54 for the pear jam. The $2.20 that I have is in the next thing that we're going to talk about, because this you cannot buy in the store. Why do I think that? Because I've researched for like the last half an hour for something that is as comparable as this. So since I can't find it, we're just going to have to go with a $5.39 jar of jam. But this is roasted pear garlic preserves. This is amazing on a loaf of French bread or cheese bread or in place of garlic bread. It's just over pork. It's just amazing. It is absolutely the most intricate, different thing to make, and it cost me $2.20 to make. So for $2.20, I got 8 jars, but I'm only counting them as 6 because I actually got 7 jars, but I'm only counting them as 6 because 2 of them are the half size. So for those jars, it is 37 cents each to make. And that store-bought at $5.39 ends up being a total of $32.34 minus the $2.20 I took to make it. That means I have a $30.14 savings on this alone, and you can't buy this anywhere. This is like if somebody comes over and you have a big loaf of artesian bread and you just open it up and pour this stuff in it, or you want salad dressing, you take this and mix it with some olive oil and mix it up really good and pour it all over your salad with some of those freeze-dried pears and some pecans. Oh my gosh, you are going to have a salad that people are going to die for. I need to go plant some spinach. I just need to go plant some spinach. See that little burned bit of roasted pear? It's delicious. The next and last thing that we have is the vanilla pear preserves that I made. I did another video on that. You can reference that. It'll be uploaded just about the time this one is. But the vanilla pear preserve was made with clear gel. It's a new way that I am basically transforming all of my jams. It's kind of like a pie filling texture, but it's just so easily spreadable, and it's inexpensive to make. Much cheaper doing clear gel than using pectin. It's also much easier to use than pectin and requires a lot less sugar. We got 7 jars out of this. We used 6 cups of pears. We changed the whole recipe to be the 6 cups. Sure, clear gel is much cheaper to use than the pectin. And out of the 7 jars, it cost me $1.89 to make. The $1.89 turned out to be 27 cents a jar like this. Now, using the $5.39 for jam that's going on the current market right now at my local Safeway, which I think is highway robbery, that would mean that the total cost of this would be $37.73 minus the $1.89 that it took for us to make it, and our savings is going to be $35.84. $35.84, people. $35.84. I could put that on the shelf. That is enough to buy a canner. Now, let me tell you about the total savings of all of this. The freeze-dried pears, I keep wanting to call them dehydrated, the freeze-dried pears, the canned pears, the pear garlic preserves, the pear jam with a ton of sugar in it, and the pear vanilla jam that I made with clear gel, all of that savings is $132.80 worth of savings. Now, for all of you guys that have friends out there that say it's too expensive to can, you don't want to get in it, I don't count the cost of the jars because those I'm reusing, and most of them I got for free. I got for free from people that no longer wanted to can. They gave them to me because I wanted to can, and they know I can, and I also teach canning. So they gave them to me. And then the lids, I don't count the cost of the lids because I reuse the lids. I reuse the lids on other projects. You can reuse the lids in all kinds of projects, out in the garden, in crafting. I mean, there are some really interesting ways I've used the lids. However, $132, people, is enough to buy your canning equipment. No joke. All of the water bath equipment, the utensils, everything, right there. Now you know what I know.